Over the last couple of weeks, we've taken a look at the landed cost module and some of the functionality within that. So to kind of wrap up this series, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what you do when you have shorts. I'm going to show the shorts process, but the same process is used for overages. So there's actually a special screen that we can use to manage these. But what we're talking about here is if you receive the PO in, the PO was for 1,000, you receive, let's say 500 is the example we're going to do today. What are our options for dealing with that 500? Because we've already basically invoiced and potentially paid the vendor. What can we do at this point? So let's head over to Dynamics, and first thing I'll do is I'll just pull up this purchase order that I've created. It's for A001 for 1,000, and then I've already created a voyage for us. So let's go ahead and open that up. So if I go into the landed cost module and go under voyages. That'll be this last voyage here. And so I just added that line onto our voids. So if you remember, the whole kind of process is you're going to create the invoice first. That's what kicks everything off. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and post the invoice. And we're going to give it an invoice number. Make up something here, invoice description. And then we'll just give it today's date. And we will go ahead and update the match status so we get the past. And actually, one thing I forgot to do on this, let me close this for just a second. I've got some measurement calculations, so I'm going to change this measurement for us real quick. So let me go and do that in there. It's going to fail on me when I go and post the invoice. So I can do that and go ahead and post the invoice. And let's update this match status again. Update the past. And then we can post this. So just as a reminder, what happens to the inventory, let me refresh my inventory screen here. And so what we have is that 1,000 items is in this goods in transit warehouse. So if you remember from the setup video for warehouse 11, we create a goods in transit warehouse, and then we have this under delivery warehouse, which we'll use here in just a minute here. So we got our 1,000 here, our goods are coming across the ocean, coming over to us so we can receive them. So if we click back over here on the voyage, the way we're going to receive it is we're going to click on the goods in transit, receive goods in transit. And what we want to do is we're going to change our quantity to, let's say we get 500, and then we're going to close this out. So that's basically saying we're not going to get any more of this item, and we'll go ahead and close that out. So we'll go ahead and say okay, and that will close that. So if we go back and look at our on hand again, we'll go and refresh. We'll notice here now we have 500 in our under delivery, and then our physical inventory went up by 500. So it moved from the goods in transit warehouse, moved it over to the under delivery warehouse, and then also with the 500 we actually received, it updated the warehouse 11 there. Okay. So where we can maintain these overages and shortages, if we go back into our landed cost module, you have these over and under transactions. So we go in here. And there's a filter we can have all. So there's one in here that I did before. So that one's been completed. It's in process. You've got a couple of filters here where you can just look at the created ones or the ones that are in process or the ones that are completed. Okay. So the ones we want to look at today is this one here that's in process. So you've got basically two options we can do for a regular order. So you can either create a movement journal or you can create a purchase order. So if you create the movement journal on an under delivery, basically you're saying you're going to post that difference to an account, and you're going to absorb that difference. And then if you go the purchase order route, you're basically going to create a vendor return, which is then going to create a credit that then you'll apply that credit hopefully to a future order. Okay, so let's just do 250 in each. Let's go to the movement journal first, and the quantity we're going to do 250. And then there's this over and under reason. This is actually a setting that you can set. Let me just flip over here to this screen. And if we go into the landed cost module, there's this over and under reasons here under the setup, over under setup, and over reasons. And then we can set up different reasons. Okay. And then we can also tie our movement journal to it. All right. So what we want to do, we're going to say this is short. And we've done 250, so we're going to go ahead and say okay. And then that's created our movement journal there for 250. Now, for the other 250, let's go ahead and we'll do the purchase order sign. We'll leave our purchase order at 250. Go ahead and say okay. and we'll see the purchase order populate down here in the bottom. There it is. Okay, so we've got purchase order that was created, and then we have our movement journal that was created for 250 each. All right, so this would be, the example of this would be if we were going to basically absorb the cost for half of these, and then the vendor was going to write us a credit for half of these. Okay, so as you can see, it's still in process, and the way we get it out of in process over to complete is to basically post this journal and create an invoice off this purchase order. All right, so first off, let's go ahead and start off with the purchase order. So if we can go into the purchase order here, and we'll go to the invoice tab, and let's just generate our invoice for it. Notice, so even though our quantity was positive, it's, it puts the negative in there for us. So we can go to the invoice and we just create a credit for this. Give it a number. Invoice for the description, or I guess I should say credit for the description. And the date, we'll use the days. And since I split this up, I don't think our matching is going to work automatically. So I'm going to go match product receipts to that. And we'll match this one up. And we'll go ahead and say OK. And then we can post this. Let's go ahead and post it. Oh, sorry, I need to update my match status. Okay, now we'll post it. All right, and that was the error from before. And it should be posted now. And we can close this out. And then, so we've got the purchase order completed. And then once we do that, if we go back to our completed, we'll see that we have our movement journal posted for us. And then we posted our purchase order for those two. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the vendor invoices. So if we go up to the vendor account, go to US 104, click on there. It'll open up the vendor for us. And under the transactions here under the vendor, let's go take a look at the invoices. And we should see two invoices here. So here's where we initially received and created the voyage and created the invoice. So it was created for $21,000. And then this is the invoice or the credit that we created when we invoiced that purchase order, that credit PO for $250. So that's the credit for $5,250. And then the movement journal that we created was for another $250, which would have been for $5,250 as well. Okay. Now, something real important, let me mention it on the movement journal. You want to make sure, so let's go to the setup here for this. If we go to landing cost parameters and we go to the movement journal here, one thing that you'll want to make sure that you have set up is a default offset account, because notice when we did the movement journal, it just created and posted it, didn't ask us for any offset. So you do need to make sure that you set an offset account for the movement journal so it knows where to post it to. Okay, so if any of this was confusing to you, I'm going to go ahead and post the link to the landed cost playlist here, so you can kind of review those videos. It'll make more sense if you see the whole thing. So again, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you found some value out of this series. And until next time, thanks for watching. See ya.